They apply to motor manufacturers that want to get their vehicles on the market. So when a new vehicle comes out, the motor manufacturer has to meet a type approval test. And in that type approval test, they have an emission test. And they have to meet those emission tests in order to be able to show the Euro standard tests. So they have to meet those emission standards in order for the vehicle to be approved for sale. And so the Euro 6 is the most recent diesel car emission standard. But within that, there has been a series of different tests. And there was Euro 6 and there was Euro 6B, Euro 6C, Euro 6D, and each time they did that, the test got more stringent. So the vehicles that got through the first part of Euro 6 actually are more polluting than the ones that got through the subsequent tests. What we realised at the time was that first of all, the Euro emission standard tests were not they're not reflecting real world driving conditions. So they were on a test bed effectively, and they were running them at a higher temperature. So they weren't having cold starts, for instance. They weren't driving aggressively with very smooth gear changes. They weren't really taking into consideration inclines. There were lots of things that the motor manufacturers could change about the vehicle. So they could change the weight of the vehicle, they could change the tire pressure, they could change they could take bits off the vehicle to make it lighter. So all of these things are going to have an effect on the emissions that are produced, but they don't reflect the way that the vehicle that you and I drive on the road, or would drive on the road, actually emit. So that meant that the tests were not reflective of real world driving conditions, and therefore they weren't really effective in terms of reducing pollution on our roads. What they did then was they introduced a real world driving component into the test. So the later Euro 6 tests have had this real world driving component within the test scenario as well. So they've made it a little bit more realistic, but whether they've made it as realistic as people usually drive around on the roads is another question. So there are issues around whether or not the clean air zone restricting Euro 6 diesels, or not restricting Euro 6 diesels, I should say, is going to mean that it's effective. So I'm quite interested to see how that pans out. But in essence, restricting vehicles is probably the best way to reduce pollution.